Welcome back to the Boris Dirk podcast. Today we are joined by the white whale of our podcast, a guy that we've been trying to track down for months on end. We finally got him, and it is an honor. Ricky G is in the house. Ricky, thanks so much for coming on.
What's up, gentlemen?
I saw you tweet last night in response to someone that you saw Wilt Chamberlain in person. Can you just get into that a little bit for our listeners that haven't had the pleasure?
Let me put that tweet on 2.0. I watched Wilt Chamberlain play in person against Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Oof.
Maybe the greatest head-to-head showdown I've ever seen in my lifetime. Wilt Chamberlain was the greatest athlete that I've ever seen with my two eyes. Period. Especially on a basketball floor. Now, there's guys that argue with you, Jim Brown, Dion, all those guys. But Wilt Chamberlain was 7'1", ran like a deer, was massive. He was just, well, first of all, I'm 66 years old, and I saw him as a kid. I've never seen anything like it since.
Yeah.
There's nothing like Wilt Chamberlain. And Kareem, those two guys are the best two players in basketball that my eyes ever seen.
Where did you see them play?
In Los Angeles, when Wilt was with the Lakers and Kareem was with the Bucks.
Okay.
Do you see the Wemby resemblance now? Do you think Wemby is in a class of at least potential with those guys, or are they still unlike anything you've ever laid your eyes on?
See, that's a great call. Wemby might change my mind.
Mm.
When you watch it, I didn't see Kareem as a high school kid, but I saw Kareem at UCLA. Kareem was the greatest prospect I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Until Wemby. I think Wemby might be a better prospect than Kareem.
Wow. Just because of the shooting?
Because of the shooting and playing on the perimeter. But here's what people don't understand. See, you hear a lot of talk, like we had that famous tweet, Kareem would be a role player today. See, when you make a statement like that, I'm going to show you how stupid that is. People think Kareem was just a low post player. Kareem was an athlete. They just didn't let him play that way. Kareem, go watch Kareem's free throw shooting and see how fundamental he is on his free throw. Kareem could play. Kareem could face up if he had to. Now, Kareem is the only player in my basketball life that players and a team could only hope he missed. There's nothing you can do. Scheme. You can't scheme him. You can double him. You can send all five guys to him. He'll still go over the top. Once he catches it, there's no scheme. You just got to hope you just have to hope he misses. And that's the only player in my lifetime that I can say that about.
So was Kareem v. Wilt, was that the best basketball game you've ever been in the building for?
I don't know about game. It's the best head-to-head I've ever seen. I saw some Bird Magic games that was pretty good, bro. I mean, I sat courtside on the baseline on the end zone, watch Bird talk shit to the Lakers. That shit, I don't know if I've ever seen that. Bird was the greatest trash talker ever played.
Yeah. Yeah, all the stories about Bird.
Those are true.
Yeah.
I sat front row baseline, inline. Bird would talk.
With Wilt, I feel like
Wilt was moody. Wilt had other things he liked to do in life. Wilt has the greatest line. When they first started, his Lakers coaches was the first one to start the morning shoot around.
Mm-hmm.
And they told Wilt, "You're going to do a morning shoot around." Wilt said, "Wait a minute, bro. I got a lot of things going on in my life. I'm going to do this for you. You say you want me at the shoot around and you want me at the game that night. Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. I'll be at one of those, but I'm not showing up to both. Which one you want me at?" But Wilt was so good that he got bored. Because when Wilt got pissed off and wanted to turn it on, he could do whatever he wanted against anybody. I mean, Larry Brown's got a great summer league story about him in a pickup run when a bunch of players pissed him off, and he just took away the whole game. There was no more shots made. He took the rim away, and he just shut the whole gym down.
Mm-hmm.
These guys were talking trash. He was capable of that, but he got bored. See, so Wilt, Kareem, I don't argue with, and then I put MJ right there at 3, and then the guy that nobody knows or talks about that might have been the GOAT if you don't get hurt was Bill Walton.
I think one of the underrated pieces of that 77 championship team is how young they were. That's still the youngest championship team in NBA history, and who knows what Bill Walton would have done in terms of longevity if those injuries hadn't hit him early. And of course, he resurfaces for the '86 Celtics as an elite role player. My next question for you is, Of all the forgotten NBA greats that you've had the pleasure of watching, is there a guy you're most pissed people don't talk about enough anymore? Is it Walton? Is it someone else?
Rick Barry.
Mm.
Rick Barry might have been the most skilled basketball player to ever play.
And he was a
Rick Barry,
motherfucker.
no, he was worse than a motherfucker. He did his shit on the hard rim and no three ball.
Yep.
See, people don't understand Jerry West. Pull up Jerry West numbers. Jerry West did all that shit on the fucking hard rim and no three ball.
Yeah.
See, people don't understand that hard rim shit. See, I tell everybody I was 3 to 4 years too late. Give me a fucking breakaway rim and a three ball, my life is different.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Rick Barry, I mean, he was averaging 30 plus.
He led the scoring and everything. College, ABA, NBA, didn't matter where he played. Take him to local park, he'll lead the league in scoring.
Yeah, definitely an alpha. You often, speaking of the Warriors, you often have some super interesting takes on the Warriors' last decade of hoops. Is there a certain misconception about the Dubs' rise and fall over the last 10 years that you're particularly passionate about?
Not understanding Steve Kerr's philosophy. And it's so deep that the average fan can't see it. So they fight it. And then they all pack up in groups and fight low IQ, ignorant basketball because they don't understand what Kerr's doing. And what they don't understand, and Kerr and Steph Curry are tied to the hip. See, when they had Mark Jackson built the baseline of that team, and he brought in the defense. He did that. But Mark Jackson sees the games through a ball-dominant point guard lens. And that's how he played. Never like last in the league in passing. Kerr sees the game in a shooter's lens. Kerr brought movement, put the defense 50 feet apart, and opened up the lanes. And the Warriors were one of the top passing teams in the immediate next year and won a chip. See, Warriors fans want to tell you that Steph is a system, which is true. But players make schemes, and schemes maximize players. Kerr's system took Steph Curry to another planet.
Yeah.
And that's why, they fight me all the time on ball versus off ball. They don't understand it, and they fight it all the time. Just like this Moody situation. Warriors fans don't understand why you don't play. You can cook, but if you can't collaborate, you're not going to play for Steve Kerr. You can't play for Kerr if you don't make a pass.
Yeah.
I don't care how many points you score. Ask Jason Tatum about it.
Very true. The proof's in the record. I mean, they won 51 games the last year with Mark Jackson, first year with Steve Kerr, 67 with basically the same roster. Like that, it was similar to like when the Bucks had Jason Kidd and then replaced him with Mike Budenholzer, and they got more of the movement involved, a little more fundamentally sound on defense. Like sometimes you need that coaching change to take you to the next level. And yeah, I agree. It always pisses me off when Warriors fans get mad at Steve Kerr because like, I mean, the Knicks are good now, but as a Knicks fan, like I dealt with horrific coaching for the decade plus, and to see people not be grateful for Steve Kerr, who's like a first ballot Hall of Fame coach, and
He's basketball royalty. Royalty. He's got 9 rings and shoe boxes. I mean, just look at his PhD, his resume. My son's an interesting story, and I'll tell you this in the Kerr. I asked my son's at Duke right now, and I asked my son, what was the difference of going to college in San Diego and now going to Duke? And you know what he said to me? I mean, immediately, the people you sit next to. See, Steve Kerr is set with Duncan, Jordan, Phil Jackson, Lute Olson, Popovich, Kerr. I mean, Steph. He has had the best seat at the basketball highest level. And when I say highest level, I'm talking about in the finals. And then they forget how good of a player he is. He was a college All-American. He played on the USA team. They forget how good the boy could play.
Yeah.
And the boy squared up with Jordan. Kerr's no punk. And see, the problem, it's not really Warriors fans. We can't really call Warriors fans don't like. It's the Steph stands. See, the Steph stands believe anything that Curry don't get is Steve Kerr's fault. And everything Curry gets, it's because of Curry.
Speaking of, I've heard you say Steph was not as responsible for the Warriors' successes last year.
See, as much as I like Kerr, as much as I back his basketball philosophy, you got to have dudes. You don't got dudes, you're not winning. I don't care who you are. See, no, I'll never take it that far. But now what? See, like right now, the other night I was on a Warriors Spaces, and all they wanted to talk about, the biggest offseason was the 2 assistant coaches. The 2 assistant coaches were available because they didn't have a job. Those 2 assistants have never won nothing. Give Kerr some credit for bringing in new, different basketball in his great basketball minds, and then he ties it into how he wants it all to work, and then he goes and implements it. See, it's always the Warriors have had the greatest assistant coaches in the last 10 years, but the worst head coach.
Yeah.
See, who do you talk to? Who do you talk basketball with when you talk like that?
I got a question for you on Steph, because as someone who's been watching basketball as long as you have, and you got to see all of Magic Johnson's prime, I feel like that's now kind of pretty much everyone thinks that those are the two best point guards of all time now, Steph and Magic. Having gotten to see like the rise of the Warriors dynasty with Steph, and then seeing the Lakers with Magic, how would you kind of compare the way that those two guys impact the game?
Different players. Steph's a combo guard. I don't see Steph as a point guard.
Mm,
I know a lot of people disagree with me, but that's West. Steph is closer to Jerry West. Those are combo guards.
okay.
Yeah.
Magic's a pure point guard. Period.
You can only keep one of Pods or Kuminga. And why are you picking why are you picking one of them, and how good can they be?
I'm keeping the athlete. That's just me. I'm into athletes and wings and length. So now, see, Kaminga's got to learn how to play. Kaminga's capable of blowing up, but we're getting into year 4 where it's getting late. You either got to play and show us what you got, or we're gonna have an issue. Pods is a role player that fits a need.
Yeah.
See, I could get rid of Pods in a minute, but I understand he needs minutes for the Lakers because he's a second ball handler and he's a connector. You know, I'll say it this way: I'll play Pods over Moody every day, and so will Kerr. See, you can't see. I look at the game through a shooter's lens too, and I was a combo guard, but I was a shooter. It's a different mentality. See, that's why I understand Kerr more than most, because I was a shooter. I'm not playing with ball pounders and guys the ball stops. You know,
Yeah.
let's go back to Lamb and Kaminga discussion a couple years ago. People didn't understand why Lamb was getting minutes. It was obvious because the ball didn't stick in his hands. See, the best defense for Steph Curry is a Warriors teammate where the ball stops. That's the best
Yeah.
defense for Steph Curry.
Yeah. And that's why when you said there are Kerr guys and there are guys who are not built to play in free-flowing Kerr offense, Pods is going to be a great shooter in time, I believe. So even in an offense that doesn't really move the ball, like Pods can sit in the corner and make threes, but also can do all that connective stuff that Steve Kerr loves, and is an elite rebounder at the guard position. Kuminga's one of those guys, like, the sky's the limit with his physical profile, but he needs to learn to keep the music going in the ways that get you 35 minutes in a Steve Kerr offense.
Well, see, Pods has a tendency to pound the ball a little bit too much for my liking too. But he's got to fix that. He has a little bit of tunnel vision himself. But let me tell you about Pods. See, there's a term in basketball when we talk about players, and I said this about the Miami player. And Kyle Kuzma jumped on it, and that thing went viral on every freaking network. Warriors like Pods and the kid from UCLA, Is that his name? Podcast. Miami likes Jaquez and Pods. That's interesting. Spo and Kerr like the same player. Spo and Kerr are going to pick the player the other one don't pick. See, I find that interesting. And what that means is Spo and Kerr look at both of those guys as a term called a basketball player. And I tweeted that Jaquez was a basketball player. And Kuzma jumped in on it, said, yes, he is. And that went viral during his summer league game.
Yeah.
See, the term basketball player is what Kerr and Spo are looking for. They're not looking for guys who can cook, who can collaborate.
Yeah, it's about the amount of things they do on the court too. Like I call them just like do shit guys.
There's a saying for those guys, you got to do something else with the basketball other than shoot it.
Oh yeah. And when I'm like scouting these guys for the draft, I'm taking notes on their games. And a lot of times, like, not just what I'm taking notes on, but how many notes I'm taking can be telling to me. If a guy is just doing, like, he's cutting, he's rebounding, he's getting in a defensive stance, he's moving the ball, all these different things where he's doing enough things that I keep noticing his impact on the court, like, that speaks something in itself. And then you have other guys where I'll watch a full game of tape on them and have like 8 lines of notes because they just kind of ran 3-point line to 3-point line and didn't actually get involved in the game. But Jaquez was a guy who, when I was watching him, his fingerprints were just all over the game on both ends. And Yeah, it makes sense that someone like Spo or Kerr would like a guy like that. And Pods, I had concerns about his defense coming out of college. I think he was a little bit better defensively than as a rookie than I expected, but that's still a weakness on that end. I mean, with the Warriors this year, with Pods and Steph together, how do you think their defense is going to be kind of with that backcourt holding it down?
Well, I think this year the Warriors defensively are on another level. They got length, speed, and they got so many different combinations where they can hide a player that maybe not a lockdown defender. Podge is a good team defender. His issue is with the quick, explosive point guard is where he gets in trouble. But as a team defender, he's very good. It's
Yeah.
just I don't know. I don't know the combinations they're going to do this year. But the Warriors, they're on a different level this year with their defense.
It sounds like you think they're a better team this year. You think their defense is going to be good. Just what's your overall outlook as far as what you're expecting from them this year?
The Warriors are going to play fast. They play up tempo. They're going to guard. They're deep. How are they going to stack up in the West? I don't know, but I like the team. I don't know how many wins they're going to get, but they're going to be fun to watch, and they're going to beat people. They're a good basketball team this year. They have the team I like. I love a lot of wings, a lot of length, and players who guard. See, the Warriors fan base wants a second scorer. Kerr and I don't want a second scorer. We want guys who can guard, who can play two-way.
The issue also is I'm wondering if Kuminga and Draymond, how that fits together, because it's too.
Well, that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a problem. But if they play up tempo, it's not a problem. It's only going to become a problem if they get bogged down. If they play up tempo, well, now they're going to put rim pressure on you on transition because now you got two wings flying downhill on you. That's going to be a problem.
Yeah, you've also got one of my favorite players in the league in Kayvon Looney, whose minutes have been on a downward trend the last couple of years, but I still think has so much to give, and he's still in his physical prime, and obviously mentally sharper than ever. At the same time, Trayce Jackson-Davis showed a lot of stuff last year and definitely adds some pop on both ends to this team. I also drafted Trayce Jackson-Davis to my fantasy team. Do you think he's a guy who can carve out more minutes this year?
Well, Looney came in camp in shape this year. Looney is my biggest surprise this year. I didn't have that on my bingo card. But Trayce Jackson-Davis is a little interesting to me. He looked really good last year because the Warriors were so bad on point of attack defense. He had a lot of opportunities to block shots at the rim. Well, this year they got great point of attack defense. He's going to have less opportunities to protect the rim. He's going to have to guard bigs chest to chest. That's a different deal. So I don't know. I got to wait and see it. See, he's going to have to actually look at big and put his chest to his back and guard him. Whereas last year, he was just swatting shit because everybody was getting beat out point of attack. That's different.
Yeah, and he is a little undersized for a big man too. Like he's a 6'9".
That's a concern. Can he guard Zubac in a block? Can he guard these bigs like that when it's chest to chest? I don't know. But his chances at the rim, he'll still protect the rim, which is good. But it's going to be a different way because you're not going to have guys beating the point of attack every possession.
Yeah, but TJD might put 20 on the Pelicans. The Pelicans are the real team Western Conference centers are getting excited for.
I'm not sure he could put 20 in an empty gym. Slow down.
All right, leaving the Warriors for a second, is there one team around the league that you're particularly buying stock in this year?
OKC.
Yeah. You're buying them as the team to beat in the West?
OKC.
They're so good. Like we talked about this on our last pod, but just the number of bodies they have off the bench. And you talked about athletic wings that the Warriors have. Like OKC, when you talk about Shea, Jalen Williams, Aaron Wiggins, Dort, Caruso, like the list just goes on and on of guys that can just get in the game and absolutely cause havoc and chaos, get out in transition. They've got bucket getters at all sorts of different positions. They can play so many different type of ways. I'm right there with you. I think it's them and Boston as the two best teams in the league for me, and I think they're pretty even.
You know what else they have? I'm not talking legacy. I'm talking today. Today only. They also have the best coach in the NBA right now.
Ooh.
If I was given an organization tomorrow to run and I had to hire a coach, he's the first guy I'm picking up the phone and calling.
Dagnall, yeah.
Yeah. And, Hartenstein, they announced perhaps a slight injury scare with him today, but this team is so stacked. Like, they're built to win
Wait.
60 games regardless of who's healthy on a week-to-week basis. Obviously, Hardenstein is a guy that they want available for the playoffs because he just adds a couple wrinkles that really help them against the bigger front courts. And they can play some bully ball this year, which was not an option for them last year. But yeah, this team has so many next men up when small injuries like this arise.
Wait, what happened? I didn't hear his injury. What happened?
He's got some kind of broken bone in his hand. He's going to be out for a month or 2 months.
Okay, I didn't hear that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But they still have the big Jalen Williams and so many dudes to keep them winning games and get a good seed, even if Hardenstein needs time. Okay, next question. And I know we're going to wrap up in a few here. Is there one underappreciated 70s, 80s, 90s player that you'd especially love to plug into today's NBA?
Bird, Magic, Barry, all those guys would fit today.
Yeah.
Let's do this question reverse. Which player today would fit into the 80s and 90s?
I mean, he's an easy answer.
He would. You know who's the second one?
Who?
Whose game is made for the 80s and 90s? DeRozan.
Oh. Diet MJ.
He's a perfect fit. He's a mid-range corner guy, no spacing, going to get his bucket.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he makes a significant difference for the Kings this year?
He does. I don't know if it's in winning. You know, that dribble handoff with Sabonis and DeRozan is going to be a tough cover.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's going to get a lot at the elbow.
Yeah.
See, the problem is with the West. The two best teams in the West for me is Minnesota and OKC.
Mm.
Now, I still think Minnesota's good. I think they got better with the trade. I know people think I'm crazy. Of course, it's going to depend on how Randall wants to play. If he wants to pound the shit out of the ball, then it won't work. But I like those two teams, and I can't get a read on Phoenix. Is Phoenix really going to be real, or is Beal and are they old?
I think regular season I like him because I think Budenholzer just knows how to get regular season wins, and they're going to be really good offensively, but I just don't like their interior defense in the playoffs. I don't like that they're kind of a finesse team as well in the playoffs. So, I mean, I think they're going to win a lot of games in the regular season, but be like maybe 4 or 5 seed, but I struggle to see them making it past the second round, I think.
They got dudes, though.
They do.
You know, it's all about dudes in that last 4.
They got dudes, but I don't know what kind of dude Beal is at this point.
Booker and KD are.
Yeah.
I know, but I think people got a little bit carried away with the Booker and KD stuff in Paris just because, I mean, KD and Booker are 2 of the best players on the planet, but they were, playing ancillary roles for that closing 5. It's a lot easier playing off of LeBron and AD. Like, what happens when Booker and KD are thrust right back into being 1 and 2 against the best of the best? I'm just not sure that top 2 can hang even with a Jokic Murray, a Shea J-Dub Chat. Like, I just don't think it's the same, and that's not even taking into account the supporting cast.
Well, the problem with the Lakers and Phoenix and the lower teams in the West, they're old, and these good teams, man, they're so young and athletic. And there's a team we talked about that might win the West. If OKC doesn't win the West, you know who does win the West? Memphis.
Yeah, Memphis.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I don't know how you're going to guard Ja coming off a pick off that big man.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to die. You're going to die on that screen. See, I think the Knicks are going to miss Hartenstein because they're going to miss his screen game.
Yeah. Yeah, Cat's got to lean into being a physical screener, and I don't know if he's going to do that.
I don't know. Hartenstein was a good screener.
Mm-hmm.
What was the first NBA jersey you ever got?
Actually, I only had one NBA jersey that I really wanted. You have to go back to when Maravich played for the Hawks. It was I want to say a gray color with that green, that teal and all that. And on the back, it had pistol.
Oh, hell yeah.
I had that jersey for years, and a rapper in Oakland bought it from me. I gave in and sold it to him because he wanted it.
Last question, I swear. There's been a lot of talk about the monotony of the modern NBA, dunks and threes, not much in between, heliocentric ball, guys like Luka and James Harden pounding the rock till you fall asleep watching from your couch. Do you have as much fun watching NBA basketball as you did when you were younger? Do you think this stuff is overblown? How do you feel about the state of the game in America?
You know, when I was younger, I was more of a fanboy. Now that I'm an old bastard, I'm more of just a fan.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why none of the big stars impress me anymore. I've seen so many superstars in the NBA that LeBron and Curry are just another star to me. And when I say another star, I'm talking about the best of the best. See, I don't think whoever your GOAT is, I don't think he's that much better than Kobe Bryant. I don't think he's that much better than Hakeem Olajuwon. I think the gap is just too small. It's not that big.
Yeah.
I'll pick 10th on all time lists on NBA teams, and I'm going to get a great player that might beat your number 4 pick. It's just a waste of conversation. You have to disrespect too many people. I mean, what, you don't want George Gervin? I'll take George Gervin.
I'm not talking about comparing superstar talent. I'm talking about the style of the game, the flow, the way it's played.
The best basketball that I watched was 70s and 80s. The worst basketball I watched was the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Now, today, they went too far. The 90s was so bad, they went too far to the right to correct it. Now you can't guard or put hands on anybody in the regular season. The playoffs are letting you guard people. See, I'll tell you what Jerry Tarkanian used to tell me. Well, you're wasting your time watching regular season in the NBA. It's fool's gold. Don't start watching until the knees bend. When they bend the knees on defense, then you can start watching.
Yeah, and that's why sometimes I'm like, what the hell are we doing even giving our takes on the regular season? Half our takes on the regular season, we end up slipping and talking about the playoffs, you know. Hardenstein gets hurt, and it doesn't even really matter to me. I know the the Thunder are going to win 55 games pretty much no matter what. The question is he ready in April and May? But yeah, sometimes it's hard to watch these regular season games.
Well, let me leave you with this. There's 3 seasons in one season. There's regular season, playoffs, and last 4 teams standing. It's a different game.
Yeah.
See, when I evaluate a player on the NBA, when I look at a player, I don't care what he does in the regular season. Does his game translate to the last 4 teams standing? See, there's a lot of players in the NBA that are all-stars I wouldn't touch. Their game don't translate to the last 4. And there's a lot of players that their game transfers to the last 4 that aren't that great in the regular season.
Who comes to mind there?
Wiggins, even though Wiggins had a great season. Players like Wiggins and Drew Holiday are players whose game translate to the last 4 teams standing because they guard dudes.
There's no Warriors revival unless Andrew Wiggins comes alive again, and that guy's still in there. It's not like he's 34 or something.
He guards dudes. When you guard dudes, you get respect from players. The only people who don't respect dudes, the only people who don't respect dudes are people who never been on the floor, had to guard a dude. That's why they don't. That's why I fight people all the time. I know what it's like to guard a dude. You just hope you don't go viral and your whole career ends on one game because some dude cooks your ass.
Thank you so much for coming. Thanks to all our dudes and dudettes for tuning in.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate your knowledge, guys.
Boris Dirk.